Hey, everybody. Happy Halloween. It is I, Alexander A. Manzoni, and this is Manzoni in the Morning. All right. How's everybody doing? Has everyone got their pants scared off by all the political ads on TV all the time? I know I am. But let's get to the meat of this thing. All right. Got some new poems for you. All right. Should be good. Halloween poems. Interestingly enough, last year I wrote a Halloween poem and then didn't think to post it until like the first. And then by then I was like, well, Halloween's over. Might as well go to the next thing. So now I have a poem from last year that I had never read. But first, let's get to the newest poem. Halloween 2018. It is Halloween. Time to scream. Time for bad puns on early morning network TV. Time for more sexy costumes. Tavern wench. Pirate wench. Preferably something with no pants. Where is the evil? It is not much different from Christmas. And I know how hard that may be to hear and reflect upon. Where is it that we shall be drawn? It all ends up with a bunch of glowing crap on the lawn. Best of specials cobbled together from actual new episodes from years past. Open the door. Feel the gusty blast of reality and accompanying rain. Glad I'm not trick or treating tonight. Those poor kids, they will get their candy. Somehow, as long as they are determined. Halloween Dreams 2018. Haunting sounds all around. The ghosts, they are hungry for the living to listen. To realize what you have always been missing. Burning candle, wax within jack-o'-lantern, carved and smiling vacuously. Black cat, don't fall into the trap. Don't trip over the doorway, adorned in your long and hanging costume, trailing behind, clutching your red Solo cup, themed mixed drink. Think, especially when one is about to consume the offered treats. They could be filled with razor blades and Chinese imported bath salts or rubies. Taste before you excitedly consume what may be your doom. How well do you know them, these costumed revelers? Are they demons in disguise? Or a newfound light in your eyes? Why, we'll dance until midnight when the souls they finally cross over to ostensibly teach the lessons of the ancestors. Meanwhile, the conservative pastors rant and rave about purported evils while they remain still one of the greatest evils of all. Let us stop at the mall. They are there and they're handing out freebies. Are they really sowing the seeds of theological annihilation? I don't think so. Leave that to those who know how to do it best. Clutching my breast, I march through the entrance, entranced by the wafting smell of pumpkin spiced everything. I fall to my knees before the escalator, children running around, their parents in tow, dressed as ghosts and popular superheroes. Batman can save this city, hopefully from the Heath Ledger Joker, the Scarecrow, and all of those so inclined to be villains. Yes. Well, then perhaps this has all been overblown. The children roam around the mall, around town, collecting candy, while teens lie in wait around the corner, waiting to forcibly tax those kids who came here without backup. Don't let me see you touch those kids' bags, their repurposed striped pillowcases, for I will remember your faces and step in if I need to. Protect the youth and their developing truths, injustice that I will not allow. Follow the potential creep, observing his greed for flesh and everything else. You will not succeed on my watch. You will not devastate them, get your fill in the end. Don't you know that one night can follow you for all of your life? Even if you are disguised in your twisted latex mask. The truth will eventually come to pass, though not by virtue of the Black Mass. Yes. Went to a Halloween party over the weekend and had a lot of fun. And yeah, I went as the Big Bad Wolf, and Sophia was Red Riding Hood. A very nice couple's costume. We had a good time, having big syringes full of Jello shots and all kinds of weird mixtures of things like candy corn and vodka stuff. And yeah, it was a good time. Always enjoy Halloween parties. I used to be addicted to throwing parties, and Halloween was usually the best one. And it was like 6 years ago that I had the best Halloween party that I ever had. I had everybody out that came to my father's farm in New Jersey, and we did mushrooms, lots of them, and oh, it was amazing. There were music videos in the sky, and I'm dancing around, reveling, dancing. Oh, I danced. I remember the last one of those dancing to friggin' Gangnam Style. Oh, that's funny. It was really funny because nobody ever danced much back east, the people I was hanging out with. So that was like one of the only times that happened. It was a lot more fun on drugs, but it would have been a lot of fun otherwise. Now, my new life, I try to be responsible while still having a good time. And it's easier that weed's legal out here, so I don't have to incorporate the, more troubling facets of society where I would used to just hang out with all kinds of fucked up characters just because they could get good drugs at a low price. That's not the way you want to live. The way you want to live is moderately. Have fun, but don't go berserk. Don't start lighting fires and vandalizing shit. That's just not great. All right, let's do a little bit of harmonica before the new song, or the new poem, the other poem. Boom. Next poem, yes please. the day after the Halloween party. It was fun, the Halloween party last night. Well worth the hangover, even though it was extreme. I mixed too many things. Beer, whiskey, a large hypo filled with jello shooters, some kind of vodka candy corn business, I don't know. It got a little messy after midnight, but it wasn't anything that could not be taken care of. At least nobody drove home drunk, or if they did, it was without my knowledge. I met multiple new individuals while dressed as the big bad wolf, in a slick vest and French sport jacket, and I spoke of poetry, inevitably discussing the show. The newest episode, I released it that week, and the response it had been excellent so far. I got a tarot reading from a very nice lady, and all the signs point towards continuing forward on this path. No disastrous cards drawn. Let us see what happens. Very nice. Now let's do a little bit of Spokane Story, the novel about the father and son meth cooking team. All right. We're going to start from where I last left off. Chapter 13, Pete and Eddie's Flight, Browns Edition, Sunset Avenue, Friday, November 14th, 2014, 9:30 p.m. Come on, Ed, shouted Pete as he hopped over a concrete divider that ran between Sunset Liquors and Cannon Coffee and Cone, now closed. Beckoning at Eddie to follow quickly. We'll head to Casey Digits. Just pray to God that he's home. They ran west down 3rd and subsequently knocked into an extremely strange homeless woman with her face crudely painted into a skull. It was odd as the Day of the Dead was weeks behind them. Her shopping cart, piled full of garbage bags, mildewed clothes wrapped in tinfoil, toppled over onto the sidewalk with a shattering crash. Sorry about that, exclaimed Eddie. They quickly pushed past and dashed forward into the night, the woman screaming garbled obscenities behind them. Man, Eddie, that cop ain't none too happy about that face full of bear mace. Oh, boy, I hope he didn't get a hold of you. He don't get a hold of... Phew, boy, I hope he don't get a hold of you after that stunt, said Pete. Me fucking either, said Eddie. Your legs are too short. You can't run for shit. It's not my fault my shoes falling the fuck apart, said Eddie, huffing and puffing madly. God damn it. He was right, though. By now, Ed's left sneaker had come apart almost all the way to the heel. It was oozing mud and dirty water from every seam like the effluence of a freshly lanced abscess. Eddie was ready to just toss the shoe and be done with it, but there was an awful lot of broken glass and hidden rusty nails littering the sidewalk. The sidewalk wasn't completely covered in glass and nails, but there were just enough to make Eddie rethink his initial intention. It's not too far from here, said Pete. I hope I can remember where this guy lives. Everything always looks so different in the dark. Worst comes to worst, I'm cutting through the park. Fuck this shit, I'm not going back to jail. Me either, man. Pete and Eddie ran past a series of 3-story mansions built in the late 1800s. Some were surrounded by hedges, front porches laden with huge white columns. They were close to the road and in between apartment buildings of wildly varying architectural style and rental cost. More than a few of the mansions were also converted into apartment buildings that ranged from extravagant to rundown dives. The neighborhood, it was called Brown's Edition. It had a distinctive quaintness about it, absent from the rest of the city. Nearby was the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture, as well as Spokane's first park, Coeur d'Alene Park. The street names were numbers and trees. That was not much of a surprise because trees were a dominating characteristic of the landscape. In the spring, when the trees and other flora came to bloom, there were snowdrifts of flower petals at the curbside. The air filled with the droning buzz of insect activity and wing beats and chirping songs of many a bird. Now, though, the flowering trees lay dormant, and where there were once flowers, there were now instead thick pile-ups of raked leaves clogging up perfectly good parking spots on the side of the road. They finally came to the apartment building with no name at 5th and Hemlock. It wasn't quite as old as many of the structures in this area, although it was still quite old. It was 2 stories with a long sloped roof on the north side that extended into an awning, forming a modest carport. It was built from brick and painted an unassuming sandy color that matched the dusty environment that existed here during the dry summer months. Pete and Eddie quickly scaled the smaller staircase that led to the first level. "Knee deep in pussy or what? Casey is shit out of luck," said Pete, turning away to pound on 5B with closed fists. Yo, Casey, it's Pete. Pete Scarborough. Open the fuck up. No answer. The lights were on, yes, but the curtains were also drawn. So, in all likelihood, Casey did not wish to be bothered. Pete and Eddie took this as a mere suggestion and continued knocking vehemently while praying for some kind of answer. Eddie looked over his shoulder. A spotlight was moving through the area a couple blocks north by the park. It was no doubt attached to a law enforcement vehicle. "Fuckers," said Eddie. "Digits, goddammit! Casey, open the door!" pleaded Pete, almost beginning to cry. The door to 5B fence reluctantly opened a crack. "Oh, Petey," said a gruff voice, hoarse with decades of chain-smoking cigarettes and thousands of bowls of meth. He sounded a lot like the character Ned from South Park, who talks by pressing an amplifier to his trachea, or rather, lack thereof. This ain't about the money I owe you, is it? This ain't about the money I owe your old man, is it? Hesitantly replied Casey. "No, Casey, it isn't." "All right, good. Come in, I guess." Pete and Eddie hurriedly entered the apartment. Casey slammed the door behind them and locked it with his stubby nubs of fingers. Back in 2009, when bath salts first came out, Casey Daniel Mankiewicz was all over that shit with the gusto that only a true unrepentant drug addict could vigorously exhibit. The specific drugs in question were methylene dioxypyrovalerone, aka MDPV, the original bath salt, and also methylene dioxymethicathinone, aka MCAT, aka mephedrone, aka meow meow, quite possibly the dumbest name for a drug that I've heard outside of the latest Jonah Hill Channing Tatum vehicle. Oh, it was fun at first. The drugs, they were cheap and easily obtained through the now defunct buythemilligram.com that operated on the internet through Thailand. It sold a variety of oddball drugs before the deep web became a thing. Casey stocked up on $40 grams of MDPV and $20 grams of the MCAT while the getting was good. And the getting was good for Casey. That was until he began to experience vasoconstriction. Initially, it began as a clammy sensation in his fingers and toes and progressed until his extremities became quite cold, room temperature as a matter of fact. It was odder still, that Casey felt very hot, muy caliente, in the rest of his body. An experienced veteran of the game, Casey thought nothing of it until his hands and feet turned a deep, sickly azure that went to a greenish charcoal darkness. By the time he got to the hospital, it was too late. Gangrene had set in, and the doctors had to amputate the tips of all his fingers and toes. Hence his nickname, Digits. They say he was lucky that he kept his penis. Can you call that luck? Well, I guess you can. Thank you. That's a reading from the Spokane Story. Boom. Coming for another poem before we close this out. Halloween in Spokane, 2017. Spokane Halloween 2017. My mind was off in another place, and I didn't put a costume together. Instead, I stayed at home, wrote, and beat the keys. Couldn't play acoustic because I broke the G string working on that Mr. West nightmare thing. Another time, another place. Halloween in Spokane, 2017. I went with Sophia to the grocery store to pick up a case of assorted cider. Children in the dark running around in costumes. In between and in and out of traffic. For one night, they are also shadow people. Unbelievable. Their cherubim visages and bills are enshrouded by made-in-China latex superhero manifestations, pale representations, by and large. Running wild with candy, and hopefully their parents at their sides. Spent empty wrappers, chocolate tinfoil vessels, they rest there, not still. Flapping corners in the autumn wind, carryover browns. Another time, another place. Halloween in Spokane, 2017. Empty cider bottles, vertical but dead in brown bag of recycling. Spent both bottle and mind of the man who writes. Spent remembering the lost days of past Halloweens. Another time. Another place. Another dream. Halloween in Spokane. 2017. Yeah. Hope everyone has a enjoyable and safe Halloween. Nobody get into any crazy vans. You know, guy pulls up and says, hey, I can give you a ride down the street and help you get that candy. You tell him, no. You tell him, get out of here, you crazy van motherfucker. And then enjoy your evening. Enjoy your day. And coming soon, it's going to be my Seattle vacation video. And I'm working on a new promo for Spokane Art Wars. That is a Facebook page and group that features local artists. So that's pretty cool. And I'd like to say happy Halloween from Manzoni in the morning, from Spokane, Art Seed Spokane, Spokane Art Wars, and all the rest. All right. Happy Halloween!